Hello friends, for today's video I wanted to go through some books that I have gotten recently. Most of the time when I do book hauls, at least some of the books, or often a majority of the books, come from my local bookstores, Bookman's and Changing Hands. This time around, nothing came from one of my local bookstores. I still wanted to shout them out though because they are amazing. If you're ever in Arizona, definitely check them out. If you have a Libro FM account, you can attach it to Changing Hands. You can attach your bookshop.org account to Changing Hands, and local bookstores are awesome. So just always want to shout them out even when I don't actually get books from them. A lot of the ones that I have today are special editions, foreign editions, pre-orders, things that have just come in kind of all at once. So I thought we'd go ahead and take a look at them. Before we do though, I just want to say, I know that there's always things going on in the world that really highlight the imbalance and the unfairness between the amount of privilege that I have, that a lot of us have, and the means that we have to be able to read, to have the time to read, to have the means to buy books and to talk about books. And there are other people that don't even have safety. I know that's always true. It is true of every second of every day, but I think a lot of us right now, it's just especially prevalent. So I just want to say, I guess, acknowledge that how lucky a lot of us are. I'll have some links in the description bar of humanitarian aid and things like that to check out. Part of why I always continue to do my one side channel, World Hoppers, which all of the AdSense revenue goes to charity. Part of why I always prioritize that channel, at least as much as possible, is because I want part of what I do to always be dedicated to, I don't know, trying to balance things out even just a little bit, trying to take some of the time that I have in my job to dedicate that to helping others. And I'm really grateful for all of you who continue to watch that channel. If you don't know what World Hoppers is, it's collaborative, so I'm sometimes not in the videos, but I pretty much always ask various people and assign like topics. Maybe not assign, I sometimes ask people like, hey, do you want to do this video? And if they do, they will host it. And so sometimes you won't see me, sometimes you will. And it will be taking a break for the holiday season. But the idea is that it's collaborative, long format. If you like podcasts, definitely check it out. There's merch and, like I said, the AdSense. It all goes to charity. And I'm really grateful to all of you who check that channel out, because it is through your views and your interactions with it that I am able to take the money from it and put it toward good causes. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. I know some of you are like, can I just see the books, please? But never is, to me, a waste of time to highlight, you know, that kind of stuff. But anyway, getting to the books now. So I'm going to start with one that I would have loved to have waited until it was in a local bookshop. I've done a lot of reading books from the library and then waiting until I have store credit or I find them used at my indie bookstores, but this one it wasn't possible to do that, and that would be Talon Sister by Jen Williams. So Jen Williams is the author of the Winnowing Flame trilogy, one of my favorite series of all time, and when that series came out, it was only available in the UK, and the audiobooks also were only available to UK residents. And it was very frustrating because I loved that series, but access was not available to everybody, or at least ease of access was not there. And I was hoping, after a lot of her books now have become available in the US, the audiobooks are available here, and not just the US, I'm just saying that because that's where I live, but more internationally available. I was hoping that when she wrote another fantasy novel that it would be more accessible right from the get-go, and that has not happened. So I had to get this from a UK retailer. As far as I can tell, US retailers don't even have it. I couldn't find it on my library apps or anything like that. So that's aggravating. I definitely feel like that author has paid her dues, and I want there to be more access to her works. But since there wasn't, I had to get this from a UK retailer, and I don't have access to the audiobook, so that's no big deal. I can read physically, but I don't know when I'm going to get around to this, but I hope to get around to it before the end of the year. I'm very excited. The few things I have seen so far, the reception seems to be very positive, so I'm very excited, and I'm excited just to see Jen Williams writing a new fantasy story. I think Winnowing Flame is so unique and different, and it's such a blend of science fiction and fantasy, which, by the way, I did a whole video dedicated to sci fantasy both here on this channel and on one of my other channels, Full Meta Analysis. So if you're interested in seeing more sci-fantasy books, I'll have that linked. But very excited to eventually get around to this one. I do want to say, if you've gotten used to listening to audiobooks or immersion reading, which is where you read the physical and listen to the audiobook, which is a very immersive experience, if you've gotten accustomed to that and then you don't have the audiobook, does anybody feel like that it's kind of like when you have an electric toothbrush and the batteries die and you don't have any available and you're just like stupidly like, how do I brush my teeth again? It just feels almost like a muscle that hasn't been used in a long time. So I don't know. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there because it's kind of what it feels like currently. Another UK edition would be Foxglove. So I have read this book already. I have the US edition, technically the Barnes & Noble exclusive because it's beautiful without its sleeve. But oh my gosh, I just think that this cover is amazing. I have the UK cover for the first one as well, but I have the Fairy Loot edition. I was really hoping to get the Fairy Loot edition when this became available so that I would have the matching set, but it would seem that they didn't have that much stock because they sold out immediately and I did not get it. So I didn't want to risk the hardcover eventually selling out and then not getting that because Fairy Loot did say maybe they would do a restock, and I was like, I don't want to take a chance of them not doing a restock and then also UK retailers not having the hardback available. And I do think that this is gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So I'm not upset about it. And also, what beautiful colors. The symbolism is great. Anyway, so I'm glad I got that one. Next up is one that I don't like to be negative toward any retailer who is making an effort to make beautiful editions of books. I think it's really amazing. We're kind of in the golden age of beautiful, fancy editions of books. I do feel like this one was a little overpriced for what I got, but that would be the Subterranean Press edition of Nettle and Bone. I loved this book when I picked it up. I still love it. It's not past tense. Nothing's happened to make me change my feelings. But when I read this, it was one of my favorite books of the year. In the year I read it, I have the US edition, I have the UK edition, and until this came out, there were no special editions. And when I saw Subterranean Press was doing one, I was like, oh, it's one of my favorites. It's a limited amount. I know they're going to sell for so much because I've seen some other editions that they've put out. And when they sell out, people will rarely, one, resell them, and two, when they do, the prices are absurd. So I was like, it's one of my favorites. Okay, I'll go for it. And I have a Grim Oak Press edition of the book Spinning Silver, and I think that's such a gorgeous book. The pages are beautiful, the illustrations in the book are beautiful, just everything about it I thought was really well done. And I guess it's my fault. I thought there was going to be a little more to this because Subterranean Press and Grim Oak Press, their websites are kind of shared. So I was expecting a little more. I thought this was going to be similar to that edition of Spinning Silver. And it's kind of just signed, which is great, and numbered, which is also nice. But I don't know. I do think that maybe they could have spiced it up a little bit more for the price tag. So I'm a little hesitant now. I think when I look at Subterranean Press editions, I might go in either very reluctant or maybe won't even purchase editions from them in the future. I don't know. We'll see. But with how much other companies put into their editions, I was hoping for a little bit more. I do like this, though. I will say I do like that cover. I like the size of the book. I think the size is really nice. And I do like the look of the flap here, but there's not a whole lot else to it. And I will say, comparing it to something like the next ones I'm going to show, it really highlights how kind of basic that one was. So next we have the Fairy Loot exclusive editions of the Bone Shard. Well, technically the series name is the Drowning Empire, but the first one is the Bone Shard Daughter. So I have all three. There's a lot of things about this, a lot of bells and whistles that make this really nice. They have gorgeous sprayed edges. The book without its sleeve has the beautiful, right, I like stopped talking because I was just looking at it. It looks so pretty. They also have gorgeous artwork on the inside. This series is not it didn't break into my top 5. It didn't push anything out as far as completed fantasy series go, but it is still one of my favorites. I do love it. I am still very excited for what this author does next. So I'm excited to have... I'm glad Fairy Loot went ahead and did special editions for these, because as of right now, I think these are the only spiced up editions of them. Next, speaking of an edition that I have wanted for so long, and I'm so excited that it finally came in. I know for a lot of people, they might even still be waiting for their edition, but we have this of Sword of Kyan. And I said a long time ago, when there was something going around, a company was going to do a special edition of something, and I remember a lot of people saying like, oh, you should do Wheel of Time, or you should do, I don't even know what else, but it was like every suggestion seemed to be really well-known works already, and I was like, can we get a really nice edition of Sword of Kyan at some point, because I know so many of us love it. It's a really good book, and it also only has the one edition. It's paperback. And it would be nice if somebody could take their great company and use what is at their disposal to make a great edition of this book, because I think it deserves it. And I really love the cover of this. The edges are very shiny, which I always like those. There are a few illustrations in this. Not a ton. I wouldn't necessarily call it an illustrated edition, but there are a couple, which I do like. And I like the back. It makes me want to reread the book. There's also some artwork similar to with The Drowning Empire. When you open the book, you can see that artwork in there. So I do like this. I'm so glad to finally have a beautiful edition of this. I do think the sleeve feels very much like, if you've ever ordered alternate sleeves as opposed to just an entirely new edition, but some companies that sell alternate sleeves and you have to put them on yourself, it's kind of what the sleeve feels like. It almost seems like it doesn't quite fit, but that's, you know, obviously a really, really minor thing. It's not like I'm upset at the edition because of that. It has that feel and sound to it, like it wasn't on the book for very long, so that's not a big deal though. And over time, with it being on the shelf and everything, it's gonna end up fitting better. Next up, we have some foreign editions. So a lot of you know that I really love getting a lot of editions of my favorite books and series. I just love I like examining the different art styles from one country to the next. I like looking at a lot of the subtle differences. For example, in certain countries, the direction of the text on the spine will be a different way, and you actually get to see where in the US we often have sleeves that come off, and you'll get like the stickers and stuff. Other countries often will print it right on the book, or if you do have some kind of text that you want the readers to know about rather than having a sticker, you'll have like I'm not really sure what it's called, but it's almost like a removable quarter sleeve at the bottom. Anyway, I just really like seeing those differences, seeing how we treat books, I guess you could say, from one place to the next. So I have done a video where I got a lot of the different editions of Shades of Magic, and now that Threads of Power is out, I saw that there was a French edition that matched the French editions I already had of Shades of Magic, and I really like this French edition, and I really like that Tess and the little mechanical owl, I'll call it, are on the cover. I really like this cover. I really like this art style. It was an edition I thought was really cool already, so to have a matching one for Threads of Power is exciting, especially because of the whole situation with the covers not really matching in the US editions, although they kind of do because they reprinted them, but they're not hardback, and you know how that goes. So I do really like this, and they also did, I was like, wow, they went all out. They did a hardcover, and I was like, what? They did a different, it's got sprayed edges, and I was like, wow. And the back with the ship and the artwork with these characters. So this I was really impressed by, and I love that it says Threads of Power when you take off the sleeve. So, and this actually shows what I was talking about. The direction of the text is different. So I was really impressed by this. And also, I have to say, it shipped so fast to me. It came here very quickly. I'm going to take a sec to set all of these books down. So one moment. We're almost done, just a few more books left. The next one would be a Fairy Loot edition I have a subscription. That would be the Hurricane Wars. I have to say, I'm very impressed with the naked hardback on this one. It is so fairy tale-like. It's so beautiful. The color, I mean, I like that purple is kind of seems like it's coming into style for covers, because purple is not used or utilized very often for covers. But I really liked that. The artwork on the inside, which I don't know why I didn't show it when I was already taking off the sleeve. The artwork on the inside is beautiful. The back cover has a similar look, but with different characters. So I'll go ahead and show that really quick as well. So I really hope that I like this one. I did start it recently. I am not far into it whatsoever, but I did recently start it, and the opening was a little rocky for me. I'm hoping that it will just be the opening that's rocky, and then as I read on, I'll like it more. I'll be engrossed in the story. I'll like the characters. Currently, the thing I don't love about the beginning kind of comes down to the writing style, which could be present throughout the rest of the book. I'm hoping it's more so the beginning, and I can be very forgiving of a lot of exposition at the beginning. I can be very forgiving of a lot of description at the beginning, because we are establishing this new world and we're trying to establish what is the main antagonistic person or force, getting you accustomed and acclimated to everything that's going on. So I can be pretty forgiving if the beginning is bumpy, but when I say description, I don't mean there will be long paragraphs describing what's around. I mean a lot of adjectives, and that's not a bad thing. It's not objectively bad writing or anything like that, but it almost pulls me out sometimes, because certain sentences will feel... I'm gonna throw in... it's not quite to this extreme. I promise it's not this extreme, but there's that one episode of Friends where Joey's writing that one letter, and Ross teaches him how to use a thesaurus, and then there's just one word after the next that doesn't really make the sentences make any sense. And I'm not saying that this doesn't make sense. I'm just saying that it reminds me a tiny bit of that, because certain sentences will have so many descriptors within them that I'm like, I think at this point we can be a little bit more forward, or I don't know that you needed to tell me that was her cloak was woolen in a moment where she's in the middle of fighting, that kind of thing. And again, it doesn't mean it's objectively bad, and I'm probably being hyperbolic here, and it's the very beginning of the book. It's probably fine. But there was one moment where the paragraph, there was like a paragraph of exposition and explanation in the middle of a fight that I just really feel like the next sentence was all I really needed for any kind of context clues, and it's the kind of thing that I feel like maybe could have been incorporated in a different point. Again, I barely have started it, so I'm hoping I really like it as I continue, and it's just that the beginning is a little bumpy for me, but we'll see. I've heard really good things about it, and this edition is beautiful, so I'm hoping that I enjoy the rest of the story. And then last, one of my favorite books of the year has a beautiful edition, my favorite edition of it, that I was like, oh, am I ever gonna get my hands on that? Probably not. But I decided to take a chance. I sold some things on the app Pango recently, which is an app where it's kind of like a used bookstore in an app form. You can sell things on there, and then you can either put the money that you've made, you can just keep it on the app, or you can put it into your bank account. It doesn't really matter. But if you keep it on the app, it's called Pango Bucks, and it makes it very easy to just purchase another book using that. So it's like store credit. Anyway, the beautiful Owl Crate edition of Divine Rival. But this is, in my opinion, the best edition of this book. I love the typewriter. I love that the text looks like the text that you would, or the font, I should say, that you would find on with a typewriter. The back is very pretty, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'll ever get it. And somebody was selling it, and I had saved up some Pango bucks, so I was able to get it, and I didn't have to technically pay anything. So I'm so excited I got it. I love that it has a ribbon, and I don't know if they're going to do the sequel or not, but I really hope they do. I'm just scared that I won't have access to it because I don't technically have an Owl Crate subscription, so I might have to rely on Pango again. But if that's the case, that's fine. It's no big deal. Anyway, that's it for some special editions and foreign editions of some books that I've gotten recently, as well as just some UK editions. But let me know. I guess that's foreign editions, but I think you know what I mean. It's not in another language. But anyway, that's it. Let me know if you've picked up any of these books. Let me know your thoughts on these editions. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.